Hello everyone, welcome to another beautiful day in Vancouver, British Columbia. We are all here today to be able to answer some live questions on certain topics that are relevant to all of you, and we're going to start right with the first part, which is the study permits.
Starts the first question from Sahil. Sahil from India asks, what's the best way to choose a program and an institution in Canada?
Sahil, very good question. And here is how I'm going to answer this question. I'm going to ask you, what is the reason that you would choose Canada to study at? I break it down to, how do you think the program is going to add value to your existing resume? And why I ask these questions normally with clients is, this translates to our statement of purpose. Now, for every study permit application, the applicant provides a statement of purpose. A statement of purpose essentially highlights the reason why the applicant would choose the program in Canada, why Canada in particular, why that particular institute. All of those things would be mentioned in a statement of purpose, which is how the visa officer assesses the bona fides or the intention of the person to be able to study in Canada. And that is what translates to a successful application. So Sahil, I go back again to how would you choose a program of study in Canada? Is what are your academic qualifications in the past? What would you like to do going forward? And where do you see yourself in the future in terms of a career? All of these need to align to be able to provide you with the answer of how would you choose a program of study in Canada.
Next question is from Arpita from Delhi, India. Arpita is asking the requirements to apply for the study permit.
Excellent, Arpita. So how I would answer this is, there is a general checklist, or the website, the IRCC, which is Immigration, Refugee and Citizenship Canada, provides every applicant for every application, whether it's a study permit or a work permit, they provide you with a categoric or specific checklist. And what I would ask you to do is tailor make that checklist to meet the requirements or to be able to suit your application, which is you need to be able to make sure your academic qualifications are all mentioned. If you have any work experience in the past, you would be able to provide that. You would be able to provide a statement of purpose, like in the previous question was asked. Statement of purpose needs to be very descriptive. It is the applicant's narrative or their reason as to why they would choose this program of study. You have to make sure the fee is absolutely to the point, and most importantly, last but not the least, the financials. How are you going to be able to support your studies in Canada? Are you being able to support it on your own? Are your parents or a guarantor helping you in India or somewhere around the world? Do you have relatives in Canada that are going to be supporting your studies in Canada? You would want to put all of those things, all of the documents, supporting documents, and upload all these documents together. Now, I do understand, and I get this all the time from people, from applicants, the weight of the documents is too heavy and I can't provide all of the documents. Or the other thing I'm asked is, oh, this was never mentioned in the checklist. Now, remember, your application is your opportunity to be able to provide your circumstances to the officer. Everything is on paper, everything is uploaded. You don't have that opportunity of a personal interview like they used to do in the past, which is about 15 years ago. So make sure, don't assume anything. Put more documents is always better than less documents. This is my suggestion to you.
The next question is from Mohammed from Iran. The question is, what should a person do after getting refused for study permit application?
Excellent question. Not all applications are successful, and therefore it's very important to have a plan B or a remedy or a solution. The first thing I recommend is getting something called the GCMS notes. GCMS notes are the visa officer's notes on the refusal. How does one obtain that? You apply through the ATIP, which is the Access to Personal Information Request online. Now, once you have the GCMS notes, you have in black and white the reasons for the officer's refusal. What I would do is make sure you have supporting documents to be able to address those refusal reasons in a second application. Remember, just because you've been refused once does not mean that it stops you from making another application. However, it is very important to note that the new application should have evidence or material that you could not provide in the previous application or for whatever reason was not provided in the previous application, so that it changes the decision of the visa officer to a positive decision. Now remember, when a second application is made, it is not sent to the same officer that previously refused the application. So you have that opportunity to be able to reopen the case with another individual, another person who will be able to assess the application in a different manner. So make sure, just because you were refused once, the second application, make it again your best opportunity. What is it that you can bring to the table for the officer to assess that they can take a positive decision on the application?
The next question is from Omar from Mexico. He asked if it's possible to bring your dependent child and spouse to Canada on a study permit.
Again, good question, Omar. So you can absolutely bring your dependent child as well as a spouse on a study permit application. What you need to evaluate is the financials of the family. If they were all to travel together, do you have enough funds to be able to support a family of 3, or depending on the family size that you're bringing to Canada? You also want to be able to take into account, would your wife be able to work in Canada if she is required to or if she wants to? Now, the answer to that is yes. You can add a dependent child or an accompanying spouse to your study permit application, and they would get a separate visa. So the spouse is entitled to receive a work permit, an open work permit, and the child can get either a study permit or a visitor record. Students that are being investigated for a potential deportation, students who were here in Canada on a study permit, continue to go on to a work permit and eventually applied for permanent resident status. And we're told there are about 700 students that are being investigated at the moment. Now, what would you do if you were one of the students? If a situation like that arises where you come to Canada on a study permit and you realize the conditions that were explained to you at the time you applied for your study permit are not the same, please bring it to the attention of IRCC, which is Immigration, Refugee and Citizenship Canada, and they do have a solution to be able to help you. Don't stay in the same circumstances in terms of a college that is not providing you with the classes, because that is going to potentially affect your postgraduate work permit and eventually your permanent residence application. The other question or the other news alert is, can a student change colleges or transfer DLIs when they come to Canada? And that is a yes. If you, again, I go back to the first part of it, which is if you realize after coming to Canada that the college does not provide you, the course that you had chosen wasn't up to what you wanted, or the college you had chosen isn't where you want to study, you want to make sure you can transfer your DLIs, get a new letter of offer, and then go ahead and apply for a transfer of DLI. It can all be done online through your GC key. The third news alert that I wanted to bring to your attention at the moment is, this is the situation for people who are from Iran. If you're here on a study permit or if you're here on a visitor visa, you can then transfer. You can actually change your status to a work permit or a study permit while being in Canada, and this is valid until 2024 February. The key factor is your status in Canada needs to be lawful. So you need to be in lawful status in Canada, and you can transfer over to a study permit or a work permit, apply through the online application system, and you can go ahead and do that. That's it for today. If you want your question answered, please click on the link in the comments and we will make sure the question is addressed in the next session.